Hey guys, it's Sam. Now, you saw the video of why I told you why it sucks to be at a temporary school or community college. But now I'm going to explain what brought me into going to a temporary school. What made me going there? Okay. Now, number one, I got bad grades from freshman, sophomore, and junior year. They weren't too good. Let me explain what caused me to get bad grades freshman year. Now, I was very depressed all the year. Now, here's what caused me to be extremely depressed, and I didn't know what to do. Now, I didn't get choir into my schedule because Learning Center had to be every day. A concert choir couldn't fit in my schedule, and I was very upset. And, I didn't know that it was in my IEP to have Learning Center every day, And the lunch was horrible. Like, the new health policy just made the lunch just awful, and there wasn't enough food selections at lunchtime, and too many kids from my middle school applied to, private high schools, 70 at least. And I had to be in all collaborative classes. Being in a collaborative class was basically I was in a class where it was mostly students from Learning Center, which was basically the same kids in other classes, and it limited my chances of having a certain teacher for a class, which was not great. And when I was a freshman in high school, we had to suffer some 8-period daily schedule where you basically choose between a class and a lunch. It was a pain in the neck. And we also had to do some science mini, which was a pain in the neck because it limited my chances of taking a certain elective. And I also, I was too young to gain power, and also my parents were kind of harsh on. It sounded like my parents were harsh on me when I was complaining about the choir issue. Attempted to take away fun things and fun treats, and it sounded like they were trying to punish me, and a lot of activity was not going my way, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself because it was insulting me. And also, at the same time, I dealt with a major family crisis ever since my grandfather passed away. Ever since my grandfather passed away, and ever since my grandma moved into her little apartment built onto the back of my aunt and uncle's house with one bedroom, one sitting room, and one bathroom. Major crisis, because, after my grandfather passed away, my Uncle George from New York City and his family, they bailed out on all the traditions forever, and they made excuses on why he bailed out from them. He participated in traditions with his friends in the Jersey Shore, Boston, and Washington, D.C., despite the fact those locations are farther than Fairfield, Connecticut, where I live. And after my grandma moved into her little apartment, things got too hectic. It's too much work for my aunt and uncle. If my Uncle George and his family ever wanted to visit and didn't want to spend the night on a hotel or travel through all that traffic, it would be too hard because, my aunt already takes care of my grandma all the time, and basically, that's the only place for them to, squeeze in, because my grandma's apartment is too tiny for them to squeeze in. My Uncle Paul's house is too small and for them to squeeze in, and my house has a cat, and my uncle and my cousin Jamie are allergic to cats. And, also, it takes up time for my aunt and uncle of doing fun activities, like spending more time with them, or even hosting a tradition if my family or my Uncle Paul are too busy to host one. And my grandma's old house had a pool, and we would all swim in it. It's been really hard of not having a pool in the family because have been forced to sweat in that hot summer heat. You know, she can't get a pool at her new place because she shares the same property as my aunt and uncle, and my cousins Mikey and James love to play games in their backyard. It's been too much work. And it's also a lot of work because when my aunt and uncle and their family go away for vacation, my grandma's left all alone. And it's kind of hard because sometimes the whole family has to supervise and pitch in. And sometimes it keeps us from doing fun activities at night when they go really late. And the hardest part is, you know, if my grandma needed more assistance, at times my aunt and uncle are unavailable. It'd be really hard for her to get her money back because her apartment is attached to their house, and she's basically like locked into that apartment. Locked in. She can't stay there if my aunt and uncle want to move to a less expensive, more house, which is pretty crazy. And she shares the same kitchen and walkway as my aunt and uncle. And it's been very hard for that because my grandma can't invite company over, and it's not easy to visit my grandma now. You know, it's hard. You know? Because freshman year, that is what caused me to get bad grades freshman year. Now we're moving on to what caused me to get not so good grades sophomore year now. I auditioned for a singing group called Chamber Singers, and I was declined, and I found it extremely hopeless. And, you know, because, like, I'm one of the greatest singers, and, like, majority of, like, the sophomores made it in, and, like, the only other junior boy who didn't make it in was, like, some guy who barely even sings, and, like, you know, found it really hopeless. And at the same time, another crisis was occurring in my family. My Uncle George and his family were moving to Los Angeles, and because, you know, he got a new job, since his old job wasn't paying enough, and, you know, it was just so hard, and, like, I didn't know what to do because they were moving to the other side of the country, and, like, I didn't know what to do about seeing them a lot, and that's what caused me to get bad grades sophomore year. Now, junior year, here's what caused me to get bad grades junior year. I was struggling in Algebra 2 and Chemistry, which were challenging classes, and I didn't know what to do, how to get help. I thought I was going to be moved back into the collaborative classes. Now, that's what caused me to get bad grades. Now we're going to move on to what else caused me to be at a temporary school. My SATs were not great. Here's what caused my SATs to not be great. Now, they didn't tell me ahead of time that the SATs were going to go past lunchtime. Well, I have a certain, like, IEP that has extended time, and no one told me that my SATs were going to go past lunchtime, and because of that, I couldn't make an arrangement. Like, I would have made an arrangement if they would have told me. And, like, you know, it was so crazy, and I rushed through because I was hungry and didn't bring a lunch. I didn't have a car on campus, and I had play rehearsal afterwards. So as a result, because I rushed through, my scores got canceled. And the second time I took them, I rushed through because I was anxious of what happened the last time. The third time I took them, I accidentally studied off the wrong material. Okay, now that's what caused me to get bad SATs. Now, let's move on to what else caused me to be at a temporary school. My parents didn't make a good recall decision on what colleges to apply. They told me to apply to local-only colleges, which was not good because it caused me to apply to a college that wasn't a good fit for me, and, you know. And here's the last reason what caused me to be at a temporary school. My high school was not preparable on helping me decide on how to find a college for students who have autism. Because I didn't get a notification about, like, how to find a college for students who have autism, I couldn't make an arrangement. and, like the previous reason, ended up applying to a bad college. And I spent one suffering semester at the University of New Haven, and it was awful. The disability services was bad. Director didn't read my accommodations and wasn't prepared after two girls took my behavior the wrong way. And because I found it hopeless, at first, when the girls took my behavior the wrong way and and the UNH system didn't respond well enough, first I thought, oh, the system is not helping students accept the fact I wasn't trying to do this and that. And then I started realizing, oh, the UNH system isn't good at responding at misunderstandings. And then I realized director didn't read my accommodations, so that explains it. I meant she's the one who called my parents in, and discussion about this no contact order for this one girl was with the senior associate dean of students was in the director's office. And then I got it, and like I found it really hopeless on how to find a new college for students who have a disability because of that. Okay. I hope you liked my video. I hope you understand what caused me to be at a temporary school, which is community college.